piece of advice when I was preparing to come here that I could think to give to any nonprofit would be you need to be publishers now. You can't request people to come and cover you. You need to be the publisher. Now, what that means is you have your annual dinner dance, fundraiser, whatever it might be. You know, you take photos, you take videos, you write up the event, and then you send that to all the media, and then it's certainly more likely to appear. And you know, even get unique about the way that the content that you'll be publishing. Maybe your organization would produce a weekly video series about someone in the community related to your cause. And you consistently churn this out. Now, you know, it probably seems like a difficult task. You're thinking, how am I going to produce a weekly, you know, video? But, you know, the equipment is pretty cheap. There's a plethora of tutorials and training online to teach you how to do this stuff, and it's not very difficult. And then even the hosting of the video and the streaming of it is taken care of by YouTube. So you might produce this video once a week or once a month, upload it to YouTube, and then send that link to your media list and say, here's a video that we produced. Now feel free to use it on your website or use the content in your printed publication. Resources for most media organizations now being strained, so certainly all media organizations are welcoming content that they can use to fill their airtime, their newspaper, their website, that's ready-made for them. So if you become a master of the art of publishing yourself, then you're going to get higher exposure on all these media outlets. And I really believe that that's the most important thing that any nonprofit can do to help increase their visibility and increase their fundraising efforts and staying top of mind and creating awareness for their programs.
One of the things that you have to do is you have to look at what you do through the eyes of the public. We get a lot of releases about things like a new slate of officers or someone was promoted to vice president of the organization. Frankly, outside your organization, nobody really cares. Not to be too blunt about it, but those kinds of things nobody's interested in. We're interested in the work that you do. And then on the other side, what I find a lot of times is, I think sometimes people don't think that what they're doing is going to be interesting to the public when it really is. I mean, you're all doing great things in the community, and that's what we're all there for, is to get that word out. So I say focus a little bit less on the internal doings of the organization and who got promoted and that kind of thing, and more about the work that you do and like you said, who it benefits and why you're doing it. And just one of the...
A great many news releases never get published is that they're way too long. That's another issue, and I can get into that at another time today. But the who, what, when, where, why, those 5 words that everybody learned in grade school are the basis for news reporting. The one that people tend to never remember is why. That's the most important one in many instances. If you have an event going on and you need to raise a certain amount of money, explain what you're going to do with it. People are much more willing to attend the event, spend their money, knowing where it's going to go. If you don't explain that little piece of information, a lot of people are just going to skim over everything. I think that's a real key.
And just one other thing from a radio standpoint that's specific, I think, to our medium is timeliness. We're on 24/7, so if you have an event tonight, we would like to talk about it tomorrow morning. We get a lot of releases about things that happened 9 days ago, and in the radio business, it's different if it's a weekly newspaper, and maybe it's a little different for some of the web people, but at least for us specifically, don't wait. Get that information to us quickly.
I have to qualify my own presence here today by the observation that in another 25 years or so, I probably in my lifetime, I hope to be around at least that long, what I did for a living for 43 years will be utterly obsolete. Print journalism is fading so quickly. In the 7 years that I've been retired, the business has changed so much I don't recognize it at all anymore. We had, when I was there, very little electronic presence anywhere. We were just beginning a partnership with WHAM Channel 13, and at that time it was new, it was interesting, it was obtrusive, quite frankly, because it got in the way of doing the print work that we all were doing. Now it's principally, the work that is being done online with the paper is becoming more and more and more the focus of what journalism is. And so I'm beginning to get very obsolete, which I don't care, I'm getting old anyway, so what difference does it make? The fact is, you need to think in terms of a different format for print than you do for all of the electronic media. And print wants it in advance, they want it in advance enough so that they can get it in the paper before it happens, and then they're going to go on to something else. The staffs are very, very small. It needs to be written very, very short, very clearly. There needs to be a very clearly defined person to call if there's something left out of the news release, there frequently is, or to double check the information in it, because I certainly never printed anything without double checking every piece of it. We weren't supposed to, and I never did. I know that in some cases you can get away with that, but it's not a good idea. But at any rate, that's the important thing. Make it short, make it tight, get it in there in advance. They don't want to hear about it afterward, and you're absolutely right. Nobody cares who the officers are of anything. They do care what you do, what you're going to do.